Hello, my Reverse 180 family. This is Tanja coming at you with another nugget. It's just my 2 cents for change. Last week, I talked about relationships and what you expect. You know, the scripture talks about loving your neighbor as yourself. And so that means you're going to treat yourself well because that's how you would treat your neighbor. And so I had a comment, and this is just a platform that I use to speak to Christian women and anybody else that wants to join. It can apply to everybody. But I want to kind of break it down a little bit more. When you graduate high school, you might be in a relationship. I know some people that were high school sweethearts, my parents to be exact, high school sweethearts, and they've been married for 63 years. But they grew together, they built together, and they were committed to each other. And so this day and age, we got social media again that talks about where you should and should not go. My dad used to tell me that he didn't want anything from my mother. Even though she was his wife, he believed the man should take care of the woman and support her. And so I get that from that era, that is true. And any man would want to do that. But if that's the only reason that you as a woman is going after a man or want to be with that man, then that in and of itself is wrong. So if the beliefs, if you collecting the data and you understand that he comes from a background where they provide and they take care, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I was really trying to say and what I'm reiterating today is that that shouldn't be your sole reason for trying to be with someone, whether he's a professional athlete or he's a doctor, he's a lawyer. You should be with that person because you love everything about him. I remember I was talking about the difference between love and like. You know, some people you love because the Bible demands that we do that as Christians. And some people you like and you love. Those are the people that you don't mind being around at any given time. And so when you're looking for a mate, you want to like him and love him. That way, when you make a commitment to be with that person for the rest of your life, you can work and fight for your marriage in a way that is different from most people that we see on social media or, you know, on TV, because a lot of that stuff is not real. But a commitment means no matter what they do, I'm here for the long haul. We don't use the word divorce. Divorce is not an option. And so going back to my parents, my mother worked and she wanted to help my dad because he was in college, she was in nursing school, and they made a commitment to be with each other. Now, unfortunately, you know, so many of us are getting divorced, myself included. And so when you meet a guy at our age, because I'm 58, when you meet someone they should have some things going for themselves. Now, there are extenuating circumstances that would allow them to be in places that they would choose not to be ordinarily, but say the spouse passes away or they go through a horrible divorce and they had the kids late, so that person is paying child support, or that person's mother or father became ill and they're staying with them to take care of them, or they allowed them to move in with them. There's so many different variables in a relationship. But when you're building together, that's when you're in your 20s, your 30s, after you've gone to college, if that's what you so choose to do, or they've made a career out of something that as an entrepreneur just allowed them to be financially stable. That's when you become a team, when you're together in that relationship to build together. You're not looking for a handout, but if that's what you guys decide to talk about and that's how you want to run your household, then that's absolutely okay. I'm not saying that, you know, the guy, if he's making six figures, he's making six figures. But what are you bringing to the table? And that's what I'm saying. It's a team. You're not in competition with each other. Women with these high horses, y'all need to come down. You know, a boss lady and all these terms that you use, you're speaking that into existence. And yes, you can be successful and be that boss lady, but you also have to make sure that kingship for your husband is there. So there's so many different things and so many different variables that is a part of the discussion that I started last week. So we'll continue to have these discussions so that you guys can get to understand that based on where you come from, how you were raised, and the information you've gathered going to college or just life experiences with your friends, just knowing those things that will make a difference. But it ultimately boils down to you're a team. Husband and wife, you're a team. Remember, I said it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. You give your all to that person to please them, and they'll reciprocate that to you, and therefore it'll work. When you're struggling, you support that man, regardless if he makes a decision and it turns out not to be a great decision. You support him. Say, baby, that's okay next time. You always want to make sure you're supportive, because if you treat a man right, there's nothing he won't do for you. My grandmother used to say that. So I just want you to know that different things come into play, but it shouldn't be, I'm looking for a man to take care of me, that he has to make this. You know, when I talk about your credit, that means you're paying your bills on time. You know, the best that you know how. Even if it's the bare minimum, you're paying your bills. You don't have anything negative. And if you do, there could be a reason for that. You know, something happened, you got sick, you didn't have short-term disability, nor long-term disability. So you had to go into your savings if you had that, or if you didn't have a savings, you had to let that go just to make sure you had food to eat and your kids had food on the table to eat. Whatever it is you had to do, those things happen. But as you get older, you make better decisions. You make sure you have a life insurance policy, short-term disability, like I mentioned, long-term disability. So no matter what comes at you, you can take care of your business. But if that's not the case, you discuss those things. You meet with the person no matter where you meet. You don't have to, that list is null and void when it comes to me and how I feel about dating, because I'm collecting data, because I might not even like it. He could take me all the fanciest restaurants, but if I don't like him and we don't click, I don't want him to spend all that money on me, because that's an investment for that young man or that older man in my case. But whatever the case is, ladies, be careful of how you treat it and how you start off, because however you start out is pretty much how you're going to finish. Remember, you're constantly evolving and changing into different individuals as you older, but the core character as a Christian should be the same, that you love God and you're doing everything you can to please God. Therefore, you're going to please your spouse as he's directed us to do, and we move from there. So, you know, I know some of y'all saying, bye, Felicia. I've had that comment, you know, and I understand that's the way you feel. You have a right to your opinion. But this is a Christian platform that I'm using to talk about things that you consider. And it's not a monetary thing. You got to remember, the virtuous woman, she worked from home. Everybody knew her husband by her, because of how she took care of the family, how she sold things out, and how she bought real estate, how she took care of the kids. Those are some of the things to consider. If you got a wife that's sitting home, she got her rollers on when you come home, and you go buy this and you do this, and they don't want to, you know, have anything prepared, the house is not clean, or even vice versa. Women, you better choose a man wisely, because he might not want to work. He might want to sleep in till 11:30, 12 o'clock and not get up and do anything. He might want to be a boss in his own world, but he ain't making no money. You can't run a business and you ain't making no money. It's a team effort. You got to make sure the weight is not on one person more than the other. If it's affecting their health, if it's affecting their mental state of mind, it's a team effort. You want to make that person feel good. It's not just about what you say, but it's what you do. Remember that scripture talk about faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. If you have the faith, but nobody's doing anything, I don't care how much faith you got, it's a dead situation. Don't ever put that pressure on the other person. So make sure when you're choosing that mate, ladies, that you got a man that's want to get up and work. And if he doesn't have a job, or he loses his job, then he'll get out and go get another job. And it might not be something that he wants to do, but he's going to do it to make sure that his side of his end of the bargain is there. He's giving 100% of what he has until he can get better. Ladies, remember, this is just my 2 cents for change. Until next time, be blessed and choose wisely.